here's the third element of mind, and this one's a lot of fun, of course. We all like to talk about the ego, right? And the ahamkara is that which describes your identity or the image one holds in their mind of whom they believe themselves to be. Either who you believe yourself to be, or who you aspire to be, or who you want to be, who you act like you can, you want to act like the person you want to be. You want to be the hero. You want to be the hero of your own life, for example, right? So this ahamkara, it can be thought of as a person's self-worth, their personality, and their desires. One component of ahamkara can be called the ego, of course. So this image you hold in your mind this ahamkara is only yours. It's not how people see you, okay? How people perceive you is not your ahamkara. How you perceive yourself or what you think you're projecting into the world is your ahamkara. And if you're like this guy, looking in the mirror, he's probably 15 pounds lighter. He's, 3 inches taller, better looking. He's a race car driver. He's confident, right? This person in this image here has a lower, now I could say he's aspiring to be this race car driver, right? But that's not the impression I get because he looks a little older and actually looks younger in the reflection, right? But this ahamkara that you hold must be, I shouldn't say must, but ideally, if you want to be healthy, if you want to live in a state of ease and have less conflict inside of yourself, this inner self, this image of who you think you are, you have to be brutally realistic with yourself. And when I say brutally realistic, I don't mean you're going to cut yourself down, right? Because you should never do that. But it's more of a sense of being honest and nurturing. Because think about it this way, you would extend the same courtesy to others, right? When you see someone who needs help, someone who may be struggling with something a little bit that you can help them with, you want to help them, right? You want to see people do well, right? But for some reason, you've got this, some people might have this conflict. I know I've felt this before in my life, where you have this conflict where you have this ahamkara that you're not in touch with. You believe you're this and this and that, right? Or you don't believe, right? Both of these are out of touch with your ahamkara. You either, like this guy, he's on one end of the spectrum. He thinks, oh, I'm a stud. I'm a race car driver. Chicks dig me. I'm amazing, right? Those all may be true without having this inflated sense of self, right? This may be true objectively for him on this extreme. It may be true for this guy on the other side where he doesn't believe in himself. He's kind of down on himself, right? But people around him see his talents, maybe he doesn't believe in himself, but he's got these talents and he's just second guessing himself. He's very intelligent, but he's just not in touch with his ahamkara, right? And being in touch with your ahamkara doesn't mean that you're in touch with an inflated version of yourself, but you're just as present with yourself and your real self as you are with people and with other people. And the reason you like someone or you love someone, one good reason, of course, is their positive attributes, the qualities. They're good qualities, right? So you have to find those good qualities in yourself and nurture those, right? So that's getting in touch with your ahamkara. So whomever they believe themselves to be, whoever you believe yourself to be, whether for good or for better or for worse, is your ahamkara, right? The word aham in Sanskrit means I am, while kara means making, right? So in other words, the making of one's own self-image is their ahamkara. Now, ahamkara exists in varying degrees for people, but it can often cultivate an inner self-prejudice in people, even though outwardly they will typically deny such a sentiment because they are not aware of its existence, right? Play with, this can be a playful thing, right? You can play with this. You can acknowledge. The thing is, once you acknowledge something, right? Once you're aware and once you acknowledge something within yourself, it loses that its hold on you, and you're free of it. And then you can just kind of play with it, tell your friends about it, right? See yourself, see different sides of yourself in a way that's healthy and realistic, not inflated, but also not completely self-deprecating or self-hating, right? There's that middle way, right? There's a middle way. So the most important thing to understand about ahamkara is that it wills the intellect. Yes, this is very important. That is to say, what one believes about himself is how they will view and think about the world. Okay? People rarely make decisions based on facts. Okay? If this is new information to you, I hope this is received by the time you're age 25. Okay? I hope this is received to you, because if you really understand this and you start to look for examples in others and look for examples in the world of, do people act on their beliefs, or do they act just on the intellectual decisions, or is it a combination? What's happening? Right? Figure that out for yourself. If you're 25 and you're just coming into this, you've never heard anyone say that facts don't matter and people typically make decisions based on their beliefs, then I think you're ahead of the game. Okay? So the intellect makes decisions based on what the ahamkara believes to be true. Okay? What you believe to be true about yourself is going to determine what decisions you make. If you believe you can do it, for example, if you believe you're worthy, right? And you don't have an inflated sense like, oh, I'm just going to kill it, man. Like, I'm perfect. I mean, it's just going to all come up roses for me and I'm never going to have any struggles. Well, that's not how the world works, right? But instead, if you believe just enough, all you need is enough. You have enough belief in yourself, not too much, not like our friend here in the image. You don't have an inflated sense, but you believe just enough, right? This healthy relationship with the ahamkara. This will propel you. This wills the intellect. This willing of the intellect is saying, it's another way of saying, I believe in myself, and I believe that I have what it takes. I believe I'm enough. I believe I can go forward in whatever this pursuit is, that, whatever you want to pursue, right? You have to believe, even a little bit. You just have to believe in a little bit, right? A little bit goes a long way there. So the boundaries of identity determine the extent of the intellect. Okay? I'm going to say that again. And when you think about this is underlined. It's got to be important, right? The boundaries of identity determine the extent of the intellect. Okay? If your boundaries are all messed up with your identity, right, then you're going to either overestimate or underestimate yourself, right? You want to be realistic. You want to know your limits, but then you want to know that you can grow out of those limits too. You can't do that with an unhealthy ahamkara. If you have an inflated sense of yourself, you overestimate yourself, then you'll invariably underestimate others. Possibly, not always. That's actually, by the way, that's called Dunning-Kruger's. That's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. There are people that overestimate their abilities and simultaneously underestimate the abilities of others, right? Every once in a while you'll run into someone like that, and it's frustrating because they don't see, they don't have a realistic sense. They're not in touch with their ahamkara in a healthy way. And then at the same time, they're not really seeing other people's gifts. So they're undervaluing others and overvaluing themselves, and it's totally out of whack. Dunning-Kruger effect. So you got to watch out for this ahamkara business, and just being aware of this happening, of this thing, whenever it is happening inside of you, right, is very powerful. It's very powerful. So ahamkara, or the identity of the self, can be likened to the element of earth, right? One whose identity or ego has not run away with them are described as being down to earth or grounded, right? Makes sense. Having gained mastery of one's ahamkara makes such a person simultaneously genuine, relatable, and yet a very powerful force in the world. When I say gained mastery of your ahamkara, just keep in mind that all of these things fluctuate. So there's kind of an ebb and flow of everything. Everything's having this fluctuation. So your ahamkara is, you're going to feel yourself, you're going to, in great moments of success, right? You're going to feel, ooh, yeah, this is great. Yeah, I'm amazing, you know. And then in times of failure, you're going to feel this sense of, I guess I wasn't all that like I thought I was. And, it's just, I suck. You know, you're going to have these fluctuations. And if you have this healthy relationship with the ahamkara, right, then you're in this place where you didn't have an overinflated view of yourself when you went into something in the beginning. So you're not, you don't have the carpet pulled out from under you, right? And vice versa, if you're underestimating yourself. And that underestimation leads to a very low quality of input, or a low quality of attention, right? Whereas if you just believed a little bit more, everything would have turned out the way that you would have at least hoped, right? Since the state of one's ahamkara is responsible for governing his or her intellect and decision making, right? Because remember, these decisions you're making are primarily, and this is for everyone, primarily we make decisions on what we believe. So such a person may develop a great level of wisdom and intellectual discernment just by carefully tuning in to this aspect of his or her mind. So what I'm saying is, you will be able to intellectually discern things much better by having a healthy relationship with your ahamkara, right? Because if you overestimate yourself, then your intellectual discernment takes a major hit. And of course, if you go too far the other way, you underestimate yourself, your intellectual discernment also takes a hit, right? So you kind of, it's interesting, you kind of, if you improve your relationship with your ahamkara, the intellect and the wisdom come up with it, right? It's very interesting how that works. And finally, the final element of mind is called the citta. And this final element of mind is pure intelligence, unhindered by memory, okay? This is an interesting concept, because we would think of pure intelligence just as the buddhi mind, or the functionings of analyzing and comparing and measuring, right? But this is different. The citta, there's a very important distinction to make here. The citta is the source of all creation in respect to the mind, okay? So let's go a little bit further and see if we can unpack this statement about the citta. The constant presence of memory in the body, both articulate, meaning things that you can explain, your self-image, or things you can understand, right? Your self-image, your identity, you are male, you are female, blah, 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 what you identify with. And then, of course, the inarticulate types of memory, the evolutionary path of your species, things you can't really control, you think about, or you don't have to think about for them to occur, right? Including, of course, your gender, but also things like your species, the shape of your nose, your breathing, right? But remember, you can improve there's voluntary and involuntary breathing, of course, right? So this cheetah is, let's look at memory for a second. Another way to look at memory is like this. It's a pattern which has already been established or set, such as a manner of habit, or that which is already known, either by articulate or our inarticulate forms of memory. Okay. Now the cheetah, unlike the manas or the buddhi or the ahamkara, which all involve this form of memory, cheetah has no such presence or boundaries of memory. Therefore, it can expand infinitely. Cheetah envelops and utilizes all other aspects of mind. Right? So it really is all of these aspects in aggregate. It is all of these connected at once, simultaneously, dynamically happening, right? This is like if you were to maybe realize a higher level of awareness that you couldn't possibly envision right now or years from now, right? But it's still there. It's still there. Let's see if we can unwrap this a little bit, because this one's probably the most difficult one to understand, because it's the one that we don't really encounter in our everyday lives typically, but it is there. It's basically the all-encompassing part of all of the aspects of mind, really. Cheetah can be compared to the fifth element of existence, right? Which is ether or akash in Sanskrit. This fifth element, if you think about cheetah in respect to the manas, of course, the manas is in touch with all forms of the memory, right? Whereas the cheetah is this higher form of intelligence or awareness, which in contrast to the manas, which is triggered and operated fully by all the forms of memory, the cheetah does this intelligently without any memory, right? It's kind of hard to get your head around, right? Cheetah represents the infinite possibilities of simultaneous allness and oneness, right? Because if you think about this, everything that's unfolding in the moment doesn't really have memory because it never happened before. It's kind of like this time travel paradox in a way. If something's happening in real time, in this moment, like in this moment now that I'm recording in this room, for example, there's no memory happening right in this very instant that these words are coming out of my mouth. The only memory that's happening is maybe I remember what I wanted to say or pronounce certain words, but quite honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to come out of my mouth more than a few seconds, maybe half a second ahead of the time that I say it, if I'm just kind of going with a stream of consciousness and thinking out loud, right? Which is something that I tend to do. I like to think out loud and let kind of thoughts hang in the air and see how they feel out there, right? That's kind of my process. And for some people that works, for other people, it sounds insane, which is, I get that. It's fine. So this allness or oneness is happening in the moment. So think of everything happening in the universe right now, right? Everyone breathing, everyone thinking, all of the planets moving, all of the 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 sun shining, all of these things, comets flying through space, asteroids, you know, somewhere, someone's, doing this or that. All of these things are happening at the same exact moment. This is all happening without any memory of it. It's just unfolding in the rawness of reality. This is the chitta, the allness or oneness. So this envelops the other four main elements of mind. It has to, right? It operates within them, or it may come through any one of them or all of them. Okay? So it's really the all. When you hear this talked about, this concept of the all, this is basically everything happening in the moment, everywhere in the universe, is this chitta. Okay? There must be a happening in our entire universe at once in one moment where all of these things are connected without any memory, right? It must happen. Now, in the post facto sense, after it's happened, we have memory of these events and these things. And that's where the other elements come in, right? So if you, for example, if you don't attach, so if you have a flexible sense of your ahamkara, a flexible sense of your ego, then in every moment you can, right? You can enjoy that. You can kind of flow with it, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say, just in a high school sense, just a silly extreme example. Let's say you are a metalhead, for example, and you're in high school, and you go to a party, and you think this party's going to be cool, but you're not sure, and you show up, and the room is just filled with goths, and here you are, metalhead, and you come in, right? What do you do, right? If you're attached to your ahamkara, you're attached to this this image that you're portraying out to the world. Look, world, I'm a metalhead. Glenn Danzig's my hero. Or whatever it is, right? Metallica for life. If you're a metalhead and you're attached to this ahamkara, which is preposterous, and you walk into this party, and maybe there's a cute girl over there. She's a goth, and here you are, metalhead. You can hold on to that ahamkara and go, this is not cool. This is not my scene at all. Losers. You can turn around, walk out, right? But if you let go of your ahamkara for a moment, right, and you have a more flexible relationship with this image of yourself that you're putting out into the world, you say, oh, these goths, huh? So what's going on here? What kind of so play me some goth music. Be open to it, right? Being open to the experience and not holding on to, well, I'm metalhead, I can't I can't listen to any of this gothic stuff, right? Can't listen to like Joy Division or something. No. Then that is an example of this memory. You're holding on to this memory of who you think you are through this ahamkara. This is old information. You're bringing the old to the new, to a new situation. You don't know if it's a gothic party or whatever kind of music, right? Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's hip hop music, or, maybe it's, who knows? Maybe it's blues or folk music. Doesn't matter, right? The point being, if you are in touch with your chitta, right? It is said that you can touch, if you can touch your chitta as a human, then you will be able to make God your slave. What that means is you're going to be open simultaneously to all of the possibilities, right? And people are going to see you and be like, this person is different. This is an open, this person is interesting. This is open. Something very different about this person. He has a Metallica shirt on, but he's getting down to Skinny Puppy. This is really strange. I think Skinny Puppy might be industrial, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm conflating goth and different kinds of music. Whatever. You get what I mean, right? So that's the end of part 9. This series, by the way, I think has about we're about halfway through, just to give you an idea. So that is a wrap for part 9, and I will see you guys in the next part, which will be part 10.